If it's Trump and Biden, November, who would you vote for?
I don't know. I have no clue. I've thought about that. I might not even vote.
I will vote for Trump.
Sounds like reluctantly.
Yes.
If it were Trump or Biden, you would pick for an alternative.
I would.
The Haley voters, what happens to them now? What happens to the Haley voters now? Who do they support in November? Which states might they impact? We're talking about independent-minded people, so we brought our friend Paul Rieckhoff in. Paul, of course, is the host of the Independent Americans podcast. Welcome. You ready to play around with the electoral map a little bit? Because I think it's interesting. It matters, and we bring it up here, where these people are, right? Yep. And what effect they will have. So this is our base case. We've showed it before on the air. 226, this will be Biden. We now know the matchup, right? 219 Trump's where we start. I'll give you one scenario, and then you tell me where the independents, these Haley voters, yep, independent-minded people go. So say North Carolina goes red, and so does Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. I say that very quickly because I know that number's going to get up to 268, see it, for Trump. But it's not going to go over 270, which you need to win. So in that scenario, you have 10 electoral votes in Wisconsin, 15 in Michigan, and 19 in Pennsylvania. Could President Biden run the table there? He would need to if this happened, and those voters would matter. What do you think?
He could, and I think what you're hearing consistently from everybody is they want none of the above. So
yep.
I think the question is the 49% of Americans who are independents that really haven't always been assessed through this primary process, where are they going to line up? There are a lot of working class people and veterans in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I think there's an underreported part of all of this, Colin, which is RFK Jr.,
yes,
Cornel West, Jill Stein, and potentially a no-labels candidate. So you could have 4 more of those people that chip away mostly from Biden and could tip any one of these states.
So you think that's mostly Biden? Let's reset the map again to where we were at the start. So where would because I was looking a little bit at ballot access is the question for, like you're talking about, RFK
Yep.
Jr., right? Cornel West was on the show. He said by June he should know if he's going to get on in Michigan.
Well, Nevada's
right?
a great example, right?
So,
because RFK Jr. says that they've got access in Nevada.
And do you think it hurts Biden there?
I think we'll see. I think in a place like Nevada, it looks like it will, especially with these disaffected young people that could come from Republican side, Democrat side, or have never really declared before.
Right.
But 60% of young people are independents. I think they are the X factor. We don't know if they're going to vote. We don't know how they're going to vote. And I think they're going to be inclined to vote for protest candidates like RFK Jr., like Cornel West, like Jill Stein. And again, we don't know who No Labels has said they're going to pick in the next month or so, but that's supposed to be probably a Republican on the top of the ticket and a Democrat on the bottom.
Well, think about it this way. Look at the third-party candidates on the ballot. We have it on the screen, or we had it on the screen there, where they're working to get on the ballot. I think Michigan will be important to your point about protest, right? So say,
yep,
just for the sake of argument, that one went red. We have it in pink right now. So you're up to 240. I took Nevada off the conversation that you had a moment ago, because then if you're Biden, that's a very difficult situation, because I don't know if I'm right about this, but as Michigan goes, doesn't Wisconsin probably go the same way? You're up 250, kind of similar, right? Those type of voters.
It could. And you got to think also who's he got on the ground that can push this forward. Gretchen Whitmer is an effective surrogate for Biden. She's probably going to be more effective in Michigan than Biden is, and that's a place where I think she could be a difference maker. But again, I want to underscore, we don't know the true RFK factor yet. I hear from more and more independents, more and more people who are just dissatisfied with the process, that they kind of want to throw a middle finger up to the whole process, and they may do that consistently across the country with RFK Jr., with Cornel West, with Jill Stein, and the candidate to be named later, which is this mysterious candidate that's going to pop out of the no labels box.
It might be no one, by the way.
It may be no one. It may be no one. But now Kyrsten Sinema has also dropped out in Arizona, which creates a head-to-head matchup between Democrat Ruben Gallego and Republican Carrie Lake. That's going to be one to watch as well.
That might help Democrats, right, theoretically, and maybe it helps Biden. So if he wins Arizona again, he only won it by 10,000 votes, that would put it back in his column. And then you're talking about trying to win maybe Georgia, which is difficult to do, and then we leave North Carolina and Pennsylvania on the board. So now we're about 250 apiece, right? 253 and 250. North Carolina was interesting last night because of the governor's race. A pro-Trump candidate, Lieutenant Governor Robinson down there, who the Democrats seem to think might drive turnout for them, right?
Yeah.
So maybe North Carolina, where the president's been trailing in the polls, is back in play for Democrats? What do you think?
I think that's right. I mean, they can try to make him a poster child, kind of like they did with Tommy Tuberville on his obstructionism a couple of months ago.
Right.
You've got a lot of military bases there. You've got a lot of veterans. You've got a lot of students in North Carolina. And you've got a changing demographic there. And I think independents are going to continue to also gravitate toward other independents. So going back to Arizona, Kyrsten Sinema has declared herself an independent. If she aligns herself with Gallego, some number of independents will follow. And in most of these swing states, Colin, it could be just a couple hundred or a couple thousand independents that tip the whole thing.
That's why the third party matters as much as it does. So if we go to North Carolina, Carolina then, and just for the sake of this argument, lean it to the blue side. Again, Trump's ahead, but if you leaned it blue, Biden would be right on the doorstep, but he wouldn't be over the top of this scenario, and he'd still need Pennsylvania. He's, almost from Pennsylvania when you think about it. He's from Delaware, and he's operated in Pennsylvania for so long, but polls don't look great right now. Again, independent voters there, Philly suburbs, that's maybe the Trump vulnerability. Where do they go?
Again, I think it looks like he's struggling overall with working class people, working class white people. It used to be his base, but it's a group he tends to struggle with. And Pennsylvania is a place where he's going to need surrogates. He's going to need firepower. Someone like Fetterman may help him with independents, who kind of feels a bit like an independent. He's an unconventional candidate. Right. He doesn't wear a suit. He can do some outreach effectively for Biden that might tip the difference. But again, I think RFK could see some support there. Anywhere in the Northeast where that Kennedy name tends to resonate and you have some protest votes, that could be the thing that upsets the entire apple cart.
It'd be amazing if it came down to Pennsylvania and Biden didn't win it. I think maybe say he's from Delaware. Of course, he lived in Delaware, but from Scranton. So like Scranton Joe needs Pennsylvania to put him over the top and doesn't win Pennsylvania. That would be some story.
He does, and I think you also got to think about who Trump's going to pick as his VP. I know that folks say the VP doesn't matter that much, but you're going to have someone like Kamala Harris against whoever Trump picks in a place like Pennsylvania, and that could also drive votes and drive independents. We know that Kamala Harris, for example, is very unpopular with independents. So she versus someone else who's more popular, that could be the difference.
An independent like you probably thinks Biden should have switched her off the ticket, but it's too late now, isn't it?
I do. If he wants to attract independents, that would have been the move. But, but that horse has left the barn.
We'll reset the map, and we'll continue to have this conversation again. Those are the 7 states to watch. Pretty much everybody agrees on that. Paul, thanks, because it's the voters like you, the true independent voters, that are going to decide this thing.
You got it, man. Anytime. Thank you.
Paul Rieckhoff.